Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Andy. The name of the channel is The Blessing is Real. And what I want to do is just talk a little bit about creation. As we all know, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." And there are many other ideas out there. I just want to explore just with a few different videos, sort of the thoughts on both sides and also the attitudes on both sides of the argument. Did God create the world and the universe and everything in it? Or was it through some random process that nobody has any idea how it could have ever possibly began, other than to say that nothing created everything? And I just want to get right to it. I won't do a whole lot of talking. I kind of just want to show what these videos are saying and kind of um, let it unfold before you all. As you can see, again, as I said, in the world, sort of the two arguments and what's being said, what has been being said, and what is being said currently, and kind of see, I guess, at the end of the day, the purpose, which one makes more sense, which one's more logical. And first, though, in the first video that I want to share, I want to talk about and look at just the attitude of the probably the most influential living atheist on our planet today, Richard Dawkins, and take a look at something that he said when talking about how should we address Christians, how should we approach them, what should be our attitude towards them. So let's see what Richard Dawkins has said.
Mock them, ridicule them. In public. Don't fall for the convention that we're all too polite to talk about religion. Religion is not off the table. Religion is not off limits. Religion makes specific claims about the universe which need to be substantiated and need to be challenged and, if necessary, need to be ridiculed with contempt.
It's really pretty amazing, and I don't think that I would believe it had I not seen it and heard it with my own two eyes. I say that because Richard Dawkins is no doubt a brilliant man, a scientist and a professor, author at Oxford, one of the um, most prestigious universities on the planet. And when confronting religion and the idea of a creator in this world and a God, he says that, the ideas that they speak about, they need to be confronted, they need to be challenged, basically, is what he's getting at. And yet, Richard Dawkins believes that this great, vast universe and everything that you see in it was created from nothing, that literally nothing exploded and eventually created everything. And we all can take a look around at the world around us and just see that everything tends toward destruction and decay. It doesn't matter if it's the mountains, it doesn't matter if it's some uh, animal, some human being, whatever it is, all of creation tends to rot and to um, go into not a better and better state, but a worse and worse state. Everything is dying. And yet, people like Richard Dawkins and anybody who believes and teaches evolution actually teaches the exact opposite of that. Not that everything is dying and getting worse, but that everything is always getting better, that we're evolving into better and better. And eventually, as we were once just stardust, we now moved on to the sea and then to land, and then we somehow developed eyes, ears, nose, developed brains, developed um, the ability with those brains to use our eyes and ears and speech. And it all just happened by accident. And here we are. And that's what people like Richard Dawkins, who supposed to have a brilliant mind, and I don't doubt that they do, but to me, that's what points to the reality that it's not because people are not smart that they don't believe in science, or they're not smart, therefore they do believe in God, but it's always something that goes back to the conscience. And it's not that people are not smart who believe in evolution. They are oftentimes smart. Many of them don't think at all. They just listen to people like Richard Dawkins, and they want to believe that there is no God, or are convinced, oh, somebody much smarter than me says there is no God, so I have no reason or ability to argue against them. But common sense has to come into play, and we have to really think these things through, and we'll recognize that while it's true that it's not because somebody is stupid that they believe in evolution, it's because they don't want to deal with a God. It's the conscience issue. They don't want to have to stand before a holy God, because the alternative just doesn't make any sense. And now, um, Richard Dawkins, again, is this man who we just saw, who said, you know, when you come across Christians, it's necessary to mock them and to treat them with contempt and mock them openly in the public. And Richard Dawkins gets a little bit of a taste of his own medicine in this next clip. Even though nobody's mocking him, I wouldn't call it that necessarily, but pointing out the foolishness of his argument. And it does make Richard Dawkins squirm and does make him angry to be laughed at. So take a look at this next clip.
Something can come from nothing. Something can come from nothing. Something can come from nothing. You can dispute exactly what's meant by nothing, but whatever it is, it's very, very simple. And why is that funny?
Well, I think it's a bit funny to be trying to define nothing. But the trouble, well, there are many troubles with Richard's teachings, but a fundamental one is that he dumbs down God and he suits up nothing.
I like how he put that, because it's so true. Richard Dawkins and those like him try to dumb down God and soup up nothing, which makes absolutely no sense. And he gets called out for it. And, you know, the people can see the foolishness of this type of argument, where somebody would try to define nothing, which is what elicits a laugh from the audience and from the person speaking there. It's kind of, Richard Dawkins says in the middle of his talking, he realizes that people are laughing and says, "What is so funny?" And they say, "It's funny trying to hearing you try to describe nothing." I mean, it's very simple. What is nothing? All you can say about it is that it's nothing, and you really cannot go beyond that. But there is an answer to this problem of nothing and what it is. And you'll see from the next little clip that we're going to look at how John Lennox discovered this. And I think he had an inkling, seems as though he had an inkling that this is probably the case. And so he had to ask the question, what do you mean when you say nothing? And he wanted to get an answer to that question, and he does get an answer to it. And so we're going to see another clip, and this one's a bit longer, but it's going to show what is this that they do with the word nothing in order to get around the problem of the nothingness of nothing. So we'll take a look at John Lennox now.
How do How do you get a universe from nothing? Hence all these books addressing this question, nothing. Every one I have read talks nonsense. Now, this is very interesting. To get rid of the obvious answer, which I'll come to in a moment, they redefine nothing. That's the way it's done. You redefine nothing. And this idea that because something is physical, nothing must be, that is just sheer nonsense. It has no meaning whatsoever. And he goes on through the book and all sorts of definitions of nothing. And David Albert has this marvelous review, and he points out that the very last thing their nothing is nothing. But I got invited to the Harvard MIT Faculty Club, of which you may have heard. And I was invited to have an open dialogue with Alan Guth. Now, Alan Guth is the world's leading cosmologist at MIT. Very nice man, and he's the inventor of the theory of inflation. That is the idea that a very, very short time after the Big Bang, there was a massive acceleration in the expansion of the universe and so on. And it explains certain things, and people still query it, of course. There's a lot of speculation, but nevertheless, he is immensely famous and deservedly so. And I was having this debate, and I was terrified, of course. He's the world's #1 cosmologist, and we're talking about things that involve God, which he didn't do, actually. His talk went like this: let me tell you about the origin of the universe and inflation and so on. And we had 15 minutes each. And in the last 30 seconds, he said, of course, if you want to add God to that, that's fine, but I prefer not to. That was the total about God. I talked about God. And received a lot of hostility, which was rather strange and such a erudite thing. But in the question session, I thought I'd ask him publicly. I said, Alan, you know, there's a question that I've been dying to ask someone of your eminence. Everybody is talking about nothing. And I said, tell us, when you use the word nothing in the context of the origin of the universe, do you mean what most of us mean by nothing? That is the absence of anything. He said, no, we do not. I said, thank you very much. So I know all about nothing. You see, as a result of that, it is massively fascinating that the only way to avoid God is foolishness.
Now, hang on.
Just fascinating.
That's an aphorism worthy of putting on a sampler. That's just beautiful.
Well, you may
only
do it.
way
Send
to
it to-
avoid God
We can start a business.
is foolishness.
No, the only way to avoid God in that context
In that is foolishness.
is foolishness. When you're
Brilliant quote from a brilliant man, John Lennox, who is a mathematician, a professor of mathematics at Oxford University, and is a bioethicist. So, you know, he's pretty stupid. You know, he believes in God, and only foolish people do, right? I mean, this is what Richard Dawkins would have you to believe, but this man, John Lennox, has destroyed these super atheists, as they think that they are, going around and destroying Christianity, or so they think. But John Lennox has gone toe to toe with some of the brightest minds of our times, actually, and some have even admitted defeat, like Christopher Hitchens, who was a hardcore God-hating atheist.
We had a very spirited debate on the question of faith in Edinburgh on the day of the Russian invasion of Georgia, as I recall, if you want to triangulate it in your minds. And I made the mistake of calling for a vote on the motion before the debate and then another one afterwards. And he won. So that's why I've been prepared to come all the way to...
John Lennox, perhaps you want to tell us...
It's a revenge trip in case you want.
Yeah.
Christopher Hitchens admitting defeat, brilliant man, and how I wish that he used his mind for the glory of God. Unfortunately, he was a atheist until the end, and he has to deal with an eternity of rejecting God. And this is why these things are so important. This is these are the stakes that are on the line. It's no small matter. It's not the winning of a debate or an argument. It's eternity, either with God or apart from God. It's eternity in heaven or in hell. So the stakes could not be any greater. And the next thing that I want to look at is a short video asking the question, does science argue for or against God and a creator? So we'll take a look at that video now.
In 1966, Time magazine ran a cover story asking, "Is God dead?" The cover reflected the fact that many people had accepted the cultural narrative that God is obsolete, that as science progresses, there's less need for a God to explain the universe. It turns out, though, that the rumors of God's death were premature. In fact, perhaps the best arguments for his existence come from, of all places, science itself. Here's the story. The same year Time featured its now famous headline, the astronomer Carl Sagan announced that there were two necessary criteria for a planet to support life: the right kind of star and a planet the right distance from that star. Given the roughly octillion planets in the universe, that's one followed by 24 zeros, there should have been about septillion planets, that's one followed by 21 zeros, capable of supporting life. With such spectacular odds, scientists were optimistic that the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, known by its initials SETI, an ambitious project launched in the 1960s, was sure to turn up something soon. With a vast radio telescopic network, scientists listened for signals that resembled coded intelligence. But as the years passed, the silence from the universe was deafening. As of 2014, researchers have discovered precisely bupkis, nada, zilch, which is to say zero followed by an infinite number of zeros. What happened? As our knowledge of the universe increased, it became clear that there were, in fact, far more factors necessary for life, let alone intelligent life, than Sagan supposed. His two parameters grew to 10, then 20, and then 50, which meant that the number of potentially life-supporting planets decreased accordingly. The number dropped to a few thousand planets and kept on plummeting. Even SETI proponents acknowledged the problem. Peter Schenkel wrote in a 2006 piece for Skeptical Inquirer, a magazine that strongly affirms atheism, "In light of new findings and insights, we should quietly admit that the early estimates may no longer be tenable." Today, there are more than 200 known parameters necessary for a planet to support life, every single one of which must be perfectly met or the whole thing falls apart. For example, without a massive gravity-rich planet like Jupiter nearby to draw away asteroids, Earth would be more like an interstellar dartboard than the verdant orb that it is. Simply put, the odds against life in the universe are astonishing. Yet, here we are, not only existing, but talking about existing. What can account for it? Can every one of those many parameters have been perfectly met by accident? At what point is it fair to admit that it is science itself that suggests that we cannot be the result of random forces? Doesn't assuming that an intelligence created these perfect conditions in fact require far less faith than believing that a life-sustaining Earth just happened to beat the inconceivable odds? But wait, there's more. The fine-tuning necessary for life to exist on a planet is nothing compared with the fine-tuning required for the universe to exist at all. For example, astrophysicists now know that the values of the four fundamental forces, gravity, the electromagnetic force, and the strong and weak nuclear forces, were determined less than 1/millionth of a second after the Big Bang. Alter any one of these four values ever so slightly, and the universe as we know it could not exist. For instance, if the ratio between the strong nuclear force and the electromagnetic force had been off by the tiniest fraction of the tiniest inconceivable fraction, then no stars could have formed at all. Multiply that single parameter by all the other necessary conditions, and the odds against the universe existing are so heart-stoppingly astronomical that the notion that it all just happened defies common sense. It would be like tossing a coin and having it come up heads 10 quintillion times in a row. I don't think so. Fred Hoyle, the astronomer who coined the term Big Bang, said that his atheism was greatly shaken by these developments. One of the world's most renowned theoretical physicists, Paul Davies, has said that the appearance of design is overwhelming. Even the late Christopher Hitchens, one of atheism's most aggressive proponents, conceded that without question the fine-tuning argument was the most powerful argument of the other side. Oxford University professor of mathematics, Dr. John Lennox, has said, "The more we get to know about our universe, the more the hypothesis that there is a creator gains in credibility as the best explanation of why we are here." The greatest miracle of all time is the universe. It is the miracle of all miracles, one that inescapably points to something or someone.
Well, that's all pretty awesome and really amazing stuff, and very interesting to look into just a little bit of how everything just has to be perfect in order for us to even exist on this earth. And it's clear that the logical thing to think is that science argues for the existence of God, of a creator, not against a creator, because it simply does not make sense that nothing can create nothing. And as John Lennox said, the only way to avoid God is foolishness. And the only way to claim that nothing can create everything, as the Big Bang says, is that you have to redefine nothing. That is the only way. In other words, it's dishonest. And that makes a lot of sense because the father of all lies, the devil, is in this world, and he's seeking to deceive anybody who he can. And lately he's been trying to use this idea that you have to be unwise, or you're not smart if you believe in a creator, but you are smart if you believe in science. And that science argues against or disproves or makes it unnecessary for there to be a creator. But we can plainly see when we look into even just a short video, and even something small, a sample size of what it takes for this world to exist, for us as humans to exist, and all the things that are in the world. And we see the grand design of it. It just makes it so clear and so obvious that there must have been a designer. And without a painter, you cannot have a painting. And without builders, you cannot have a building. So the building itself is proof that there are builders. The painting itself is proof that there's a painter, a designer behind the painting. You can leave paint different colors in a garage for 100 years, 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years, 3 trillion years, and it's not going to create one painting. In fact, the only thing that will happen is the paint will corrupt and eventually turn to nothing, because that is what happens to everything. Again, as we noted before, except for in so-called the Big Bang and evolution. So you have to believe the exact opposite of what you see with your eyes and what every other scientist in the world knows, which again is that everything tends toward corruption. Everything tends toward becoming less and less useful, effective. Everything tends toward, in its own way, death. But as John Lennox also once stated, nonsense remains nonsense, even if spoken by high powered scientists. And that is exactly what is taking place and what has been taking place for a long, long time. The theory of evolution and the Big Bang Theory, it's just pure nonsense. And it doesn't even make sense to children, as we're going to see in a video here in just a moment. We're going to see how children react to this question of nothing creating, or can nothing create everything. So this next video is me just asking the kids at our church, do you understand what the Big Bang Theory is? And I asked them if nothing can create everything. And I said, this is what the Big Bang Theory is. Nothing exploded and created everything. And I'm just trying to explain that to them. I'm trying to get them to understand it. So think about it. Some of the brightest minds in the world will claim to be driven by facts of science, but this and many other things really proves that it's not that at all. It's really just people who don't want to deal with the existence of a God and have to deal with, one day I'm going to face justice when I stand before my God. And as the word says, every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, and he is Lord of all. And everybody's going to stand before him and give an account. And people don't want to believe that that's true. They don't want to believe that they're in danger of going to hell for all of eternity. And yet, the gospel is that while we're sinners, the enemies of God, and we live sinful lives, that Jesus died for us. And he died for us so that we could have eternal life. He died for us so that we can know Jesus, and that is eternal life. And when we know Jesus, he changes our life. We don't continue on in drunkenness and in sexual immorality and, the way that we use our words. We don't continue hating people. We're not unforgiving. But, people want to carry on with that lifestyle. They want to keep on being unforgiving, unloving, hateful. They want to keep on being, partying and drinking and drugging and fornicating and committing adultery. That's at the heart of all this, because that's what makes sense. It makes sense that you would reject God because you just don't want to believe in his existence, because you don't want to have to deal with a holy and righteous God. So it's a matter of conscience. It's not a matter of these are the facts, and it's so obvious that the Big Bang is true, and it's so obvious that evolution is a reality, when there's zero facts about evolution, because it's not scientific. It's just hopes and dreams, theories, and nonsense at the end of the day. And it's one more way in which the devil is convincing people to carry on with their lives and to say, at the end of my life, there will be nothing that I have to answer for. I'll just be gone, and that'll be the end of it. But the word of God tells us it's appointed unto men once to die, but after this, the judgment. Now, the question that I pose to the kids at the end is, what are you going to go with, or which one makes more sense, as they wrestle with this idea of nothing exploding and creating everything? Is it that, the fact that nothing exploded, or the theory that nothing exploded and created everything, or in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth? So here's the video, and not sure, the audio probably isn't that great, so maybe you'll want to rewatch it a couple of times, or maybe even the second time around use captions to hopefully see what everybody said. But hopefully it's loud enough that everybody can see, because it really is an awesome video. So here's this video of the kids from church and us dealing with this question. Okay, so the Big Bang Theory is nothing exploded and created everything. You understand what that means?
Yes.
No.
No.
Why not?
Wait, no, what did you say?
Yeah. Wait, nothing exploded. Nothing exploded and created everything.
What?
Oh, nothing exploded.
So they're just saying.
But it created.
What?
So
Nothing.
created
They're
everything.
saying nothing exploded.
Nothing created everything.
Nothing can't do something. What? Nothing can't do something.
Nothing.
Nothing can do nothing. So
Nothing created everything.
okay, nothing.
Okay, I'll
Nothing
start again now.
Okay, so nothing
Let the real man talk.
Nothing exploded, and here we are.
Okay.
It took billions of years to happen, but now you're here and I'm here, and I'm here. Right? Does that make sense? It does. Are you sure?
It takes billions of years for
like
nothing to happen to make something.
Wait, so they're saying a big bang happened, but nothing happened.
So
Wait, they're saying.
Yeah.
wait. What'd you say, Kate?
Nothing created the table.
Nothing created the table, right?
Wait, hold up. So you're saying nothing
Okay.
exploded.
So y'all
Exploded.
listen.
I'm gone.
Listen.
Say.
No.
Listen. There was an explosion. Right? You understand that?
Okay, what?
There was an explosion.
Okay.
But the thing that exploded was nothing.
So nothing
That's what
exploded.
exploded. Nothing.
Oh, nothing. Okay, so nothing exploded. So then
No, there was an explosion though.
What? So what exploded?
This is like corn on created nothing. Corn on
So
created
that they think something exploded, but nothing. So are you telling us? Are you?
Wait,
Yeah, it's nothing.
something is
The
nothing.
something is nothing.
Okay, let me.
Make it straight.
How much does nothing weigh?
Nothing.
Zero.
Because like it doesn't even exist.
I mean, 9.81.
I'm gonna
It's earthquake.
So you're saying like
What does nothing taste like?
Nothing.
nothing.
What
Tastes
can,
like air.
What can you do with nothing?
Nothing.
So can nothing explode?
No.
Wait, so
Okay, so the question is.
Oh my god.
The question is, what is the Big Bang Theory?
nothing.
It is a theory.
The answer is there was an explosion. Okay?
If there's an explosion, then nothing exploded. So they're saying.
Yeah, that's what exploded. Nothing.
Nice.
But there was an explosion.
Come on.
Listen. The thing that exploded.
What's the sun?
It wasn't a bomb. It wasn't the sun.
It was a star.
It wasn't a star.
It wasn't
It was nothing. That's what exploded.
Okay, so they're just saying nothing exploded? Is that what they're saying?
No, it couldn't be nothing. It had to be a black hole.
No, it can't because they're saying nothing exploded, but the world.
Wait,
Yeah, but
That
black
makes
holes
sense.
are opposites.
Wait, listen.
This is chaotic.
Lacey,
Hey, y'all listen.
Lacey, what did you just say? You said there was no explosion?
There was.
You said there was no.
explosion.
Yeah, there was an explosion.
Oh, there was?
See, I told you. But nothing happened.
Yeah, the thing that exploded was nothing.
So was there something? There has something. Was there something?
So wait,
doing
God made it explode.
No, nothing.
Okay, wait.
exploded.
Okay, listen. Either nothing exploded and there was an explosion caused by nothing.
So then it's two
And
different
then,
things.
billions of years later, all the galaxies are created, all the stars, all the planets, the sun, the moon, the oceans, the trees, the grass of the field, the animals, vegetables, fruits, everything that we eat, your eyes, your nose, your hands, your feet, everything that we see around us, including us, happened over billions of years. Okay, either that or Genesis chapter 1, what does it say? In the beginning,
There was
God created the heavens and the earth.
God created the heavens and the earth.
Wait, so there's
And then he created what? Everything else, right?
yes, like
He's the one that created the sun, the moon, the animals there, the birds, and he created you and I. So let me ask you all, your kids and teenagers, and all of you, which one makes more sense? God was there in the beginning and he created everything, or nothing, which is nothing, exploded?
God.
Which makes
God.
God with Genesis 1?
Yeah.
Well, that was definitely my favorite clip out of all of them. And I hope you enjoyed it. And, this really, is something that should encourage you to not be afraid to share the gospel, not to be afraid to tell people what you believe. Because, as I said before, the devil's trying to use people and sometimes incredibly smart people to intimidate Christians to make them feel as though the smart people are the ones that have science backing them up, and that you have to be a foolish person to believe what the Bible has to say. But the Bible has proven itself over and over and over again in my life and in the lives of countless others. And evolution has done no such thing. And we have these little kids and teenagers who, when you try to explain it to them in the simplest of terms, recognize right away that it makes no sense at all. And that nonsense remains nonsense, even if high-powered scientists are the ones that are saying it. And God invites all of us to come to him, to meet him. He is our creator, and he does have the best life for us now and for all of eternity. We must humble ourselves and believe what his word tells us, and believe the truth about ourselves and about God himself. So don't be afraid to talk about your creator. The evidence is on our side. Thank you all for watching this video. God bless y'all, and y'all have a great day.